Good evening, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, and my fellow shining stars. Next trolley stop is right now. Welcome to episode number 82 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. My name is Jonathan Masiulionis, the president here at Empowered Publicity. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Wherever you are and wherever you may be, my heavens, it is now June the 29th, 2020, shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern Time, right here in our offices here in the Buffalo, New York area, shortly after 4 o'clock Pacific Time for all of our friends and neighbors and fellow shining stars out on the West Coast, especially in San Diego. We are putting the period at the end of the sentence of the month of June, and we are ushering in the month of July, which is going to be a very exciting month here at Empowered Publicity as we proudly celebrate our 6-year anniversary. I'm really looking forward to tonight's trolley stop. Are you? It's definitely been a very action-packed couple of days and weeks, has it not? But one of the things I know that I really enjoy about summer, and whether you are, a near 39-year-old adult like myself, or whether you're a 9-year-old child, raise your hand if you love summer reading, right? Raise your hand if you just love being around children's books or any form of books during the course of the summer. Raise your hand, of course, as well, too, right? Now, you still got to get yourself outside and enjoy the good weather, of course, if you're on the East Coast while you can, obviously. But truly, this summer 2020, this is the most important summer ever for children across the country and for children around the world. So one of our newest neighbors is helping kids to create fun and engaging ways to reinforce an appreciation of reading and children's literature that our little neighbors can not only carry with them into the forthcoming school year, but also for the rest of their lives. One of the great things about the Children's Book Spotlight Series, we like to kind of venture out every now and again to be able to have some great people in the KidLit community who are doing wonderful things, who work with authors each and every day. Joining us this evening and this week here as our featured guest on episode number 82 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You've seen his tremendous work as the contributing editor for the School Library Journal, of course. If you are a fan of the gold standard, as I like to say in the KidLit community, you know him as the host of StoryMakers on KidLit TV, but we're going to be talking about so much more than that. Is KidLit TV will also be celebrating their anniversary this fall in November, to be precise. We turn 2, they turn 6. Rocco Staino joining us here as our featured guest this evening and this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Rocco, we appreciate your free time. Thank you for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jonathan. I'm really happy to be here. Yes.
And I do have to say, I think the only other person that I can think of that dons the bow tie, just as you, would be one of my favorite people growing up, Paul Rubens. Of course, many people know him as Pee Wee Herman, but you definitely don the bow tie, I think, a little bit more apropos than he ever did.
Well, thank you. I actually wear my bow tie when I'm talking about KidLit TV, so that's what why I'm wearing it this evening. Yes, thank you.
It is. It's good to have you here, and there's so much that we're going to be talking about. You have such a great story. And one of the things that you love to do is to help children's authors and illustrators share their stories. And I feel that, sometimes when, whether if people are assistants or publicists or they're in different parts of the children's book community and they showcase the authors and they showcase the illustrators, people may not know or have the opportunities to learn a little bit more about the other person itself. So you do a great job in sharing the messages of children's authors and children's illustrators. For those of our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers who are tuning in this week, who they know about you, right? They see you on KidLit TV. They see you when they go to the School Library Journal, but they say, well, who is this Rocco Staino fellow? Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey into the world of KidLit?
Oh, well, my journey has been a long journey. I was a school librarian for over 30 years. And in that position, I was both in elementary and middle and secondary school. So I got to experience all types of books for young children all the way up to young adults. And during the transition from being a school librarian, I began to write for School Library Journal, which gave me the opportunity to meet many children's authors and illustrators. I mean, I had met many through my career as a school librarian, but with School Library Journal, I was able to meet many more. And then about 6 years ago, as you mentioned, almost as long as Empowered Media has been around, KidLit TV was born with it was the inspiration of Julie Gribble, and who's based in New York. And she said, basically almost like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, let's put on a show. And that's what we did. We went and we put on a show about children's books and started to invite children's authors and illustrators to the KidLit studio, again in New York City, in the Tribeca area. And we began to have a great time with them. And we also then ventured out on location to various book festivals to meet more KidLit people and various award activities and things like that. So yeah, so it's been a fun journey. Yes.
I definitely want to get into the evolution of KidLit TV over the past several years, because you're definitely older, you're definitely wiser, you're showcasing so much more. We're going to be talking about the KidLit TV at Home initiative, which it's kind of like Netflix for kids. Some of the things on Netflix are okay, some of the things not necessarily so sure. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. But I want to go back a little bit, and you talk about your work as a librarian. I feel that people are placing the spotlight on, rightfully so, doctors, nurses, teachers, librarians. But I feel that librarians have played such an instrumental role in the lives of children for many years. And I feel that that's a job and career that many people kind of scoff at. They say, oh, these people are just, checking out books and that sort of thing. I'm very blessed to reside in the Buffalo area, Lancaster to be precise. I live literally a stone's throw away from the Lancaster Public Library. And it's like a little slice of heaven next door. And I see the librarians now that the library is open, and they want to be there, especially the children's librarians. They love engaging with the kids, even though it's in a little bit of a different context as of right now. How much has that work meant to you over your life and your career? And what were some of the things that you learned during your time as a librarian that really has helped you've been able to implement into your work with the School Library Journal and KidLit TV over the course of the past several years, especially?
Well, again, I was fortunate to be on various levels in education. So I really enjoyed the elementary level because the students were extremely open, and one can be a little over the top in promoting books and different things like that. And so that was always a big thrill, and it's also a thrill to meet adults that were students way back when, and they would say, oh, I remember X, Y, and Z. I remember when you talked about this book, or etc. So you know that you made an impression. And in the secondary level too, it's more. It's not only about books, it's about information and how to use information. And in the early days of my career, it was where do you find the information? But as technology and the internet progressed, it was very easy to find information, and we needed to show students how to use information, how to discriminate between what may be factual and what may not actually be factual. So it was rewarding to see these. And I was in a small school district too, so I was able to see these students progress in the secondary level from 6th to 12th grade. So I remember that when they were in 6th grade, and then 6 years later they're graduating. So so it was very rewarding. And School Library Journal uses many librarians as their writers. So they all bring their background knowledge as librarians, because the audience for School Library Journal is not only it's librarians and school librarians, but also educators. And so they have that background, and they bring that to their writing and their news stories. And in KidLit TV, we had a ready-made audience, because librarians and educators love to meet authors and illustrators, and their opportunities are limited either to when they attend a conference or an author happens to come to their town to the bookstore. But we were able, with StoryMakers, to bring these authors into their classrooms, and so that was a lot of fun doing that.
Again, for those of our friends and neighbors and our listeners and viewers who are just tuning in, Rocco Staino, the host of KidLit TV StoryMakers, the contributing editor of the School Library Journal, joining us here as our featured guest here this week on the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. By the way, indeed, if this message is bringing some inspiration into your evening, if it's bringing some love, some joy, some healing into your heart this week, we encourage you to be able to share episode number 82 of the Children's Books Spotlight Series on Facebook, or if you happen to be catching us on the replay, on the archive side of things at empoweredpublicity.com or Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel, you can, of course, share episode number 82 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series on Facebook or your favorite social media platforms of choice. Before we dive deeper into the evolution of KidLit TV, one of the things I think you'd be a perfect person to be able to ask this question to is that we've seen so much is changing every day right now. Literally just like, 4 months ago to now, it seems like 4 lifetimes ago, right? The children's book community, the KidLit community, children's literature goes back generations. When you think of great children's books, one of my favorite classics, Winnie the Pooh, right? A. Milne. There's, in this world that we live in, sometimes we're wondering what's happening. Oh my gosh, is the world coming to an end? There's something about children's books. I've said this for years, Rocco. Children's books, it feels like they're meant for kids, but they might even be made even more so for adults. There's a lot of healing energy that's in children's books. And I feel that a lot of problems that we have as adults, because we take life way too seriously, right? That a lot of our problems can really be dissolved just by reading a children's book. Take us through, let's even just say over the course of the past, quarter century of the KidLit community, and how, just to see how things have shifted over the course of this past time, and really where we stand right now. It seems that one of the great things, one of the silver linings that has been happening amidst everything with COVID-19 is the fact that, 1, children are reading more, and 2, children are spending more time with their parents. So it seems that, that there is, quite a bit to be grateful for, especially if you're a children's author during this point in time.
Yes, well, the last quarter century, books are a gateway for discussion, and the current climate about understanding how people look at each other and who they are. Books offer the opportunity to start a conversation, and there's the group We Need Diverse Books, and they promote diversity in children's books, and I think we see more and more of that. And but there are books that the Dr. Seuss book, I believe, the Places You'll Go, which is a book that's always popular in June, because it is a book that a children's book that people will give students graduating from high school and college, saying, the world is yours, and there's many things that you can do. And yes, so there is a book for almost every topic, and there are books that are coming under microscope right now that may have been written 30 or 40 years ago for the way they portrayed different people. And I'm not for banning books. I think that that it's, as I said, an opportunity for discussion. So books are a great way to open up the world.
One of the things that I really enjoy about KidLit TV, again, it's very easy to turn on the news, your favorite social media platform, the newspaper, and a lot of it is just negative media. It's a lot of fear-based, panic-driven things. And especially, as custodians of children, whether if you're a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, if you're a babysitter of a little one, it's really important what we place in front of our children to be able to watch, to enjoy, whatever the case might be. And there's such a heart behind KidLit TV. The fact that you guys reach out to over 700,000, if I'm not mistaken, 700,000 schools. So that's quite a large number of children that they have their minds, their hearts, their souls nurtured, right? So yes, this is about, helping children's authors and illustrators share their messages and their stories, which I think is fantastic. How much does that mean to you and to Julie, knowing the fact that, over 6 years that you guys are now making such an indelible impact on children now, especially with kind of how everything has been shifting over the course of the past 7 months? What does that mean to you, Rocco?
Well, both Julie and I look at KidLit TV as a way to advocate for children's books, and this the current climate right now. We're happy that we had so much material, our programs on not only StoryMakers, where I interview authors and illustrators, but there's Ready, Set, Draw, where we have illustrators do step-by-step tutorials on creating a character from their books, and the Read Out Louds, where we have we have the authors read their works. So when this isolation began and home or distance learning began, we were there with resources for teachers and parents, and one of the things that we developed just recently. And there were so many authors and illustrators who took up the challenge of kids at home and started to provide their own video, and there was just so much happening out there that it was kind of difficult for parents and teachers and librarians to get a handle on that, and that's when we developed the KidLit at Home page, which is sort of a Netflix for KidLit content, and that's been so well received by parents and teachers, because it's not that you're shopping, but it's a resource where you can go and see many things that are available. And it's curated by Julie and other people at KidLit TV. And so we're happy that we're able to do that. And we're also happy that we're able to, over the past 6 years, bring well-known names to KidLit TV and have fun with them, but also to introduce some debut authors also.
I almost compare you a little bit when I think of the way that and the flair and the passion that you bring to your work. I think of the now late James Lipton, who hosted Inside the Actor's Studio, and he was very engaged. He actually genuinely cared about the person that he was interviewing. And, you know, let's be honest, and I mean, I see this quite regularly in my realm in the publicity field. You know, sometimes when someone is interviewing you, they might not necessarily be, I'm not going to say all about your message. They might not necessarily score a 10 out of 10. There might not be this super heart-centered, you know, chummy connection, but, you know, that kind of so goes with life. I love the way that you prepare for each interview. I love the way that you show the genuine interest, because at the end of the day, one of the things that authors will share with me quite regularly is that if someone takes the time to either read their book, give them that undivided attention, you know, give them even some, positive, constructive criticism, it shows that they genuinely care. If you can kind of peel the veil back a little bit, because we like doing that here at the Children's Book Spotlight series, when it comes to preparation for a StoryMakers episode, what are some of the things that you actually do to be able to prepare to kind of get yourself in that element, so that when the camera goes on, it's a matter of, all right, you know, here I am again, and I'm providing some not only valuable and useful information for the kids, but you're also helping the author or the illustrator that you're interviewing, you know, be comfortable in their skin to be able to share their story as well in the process, both their own personal story as well as the release of their brand new book.
Right. You know, during this recent time, it's changed a little, because we haven't had too many in studio. Well, we haven't had any in studio interviews where the person, where the two of us are sitting next to each other. When we do that, you know, there sort of is a chemistry between, you know, the two people that are sitting side by side, and we do discuss before the filming, you know, some of the points we want to touch upon, and we also like to have an activity for our viewers, so that after the show is over, that there's something that they may, besides reading the book, something that may be a challenge to them. And so we enjoy doing that. Well, in recent days, with the everyone being isolated, we have taken to having face-to-face pre-production calls where we meet for the first time. So when we meet on the day of shooting, it won't be like a cold meeting. And we discuss the book. We discuss some of the points we'd like to make. And our audience is the child, no matter what age they are. We try to speak to them. And the adults are along for the ride. So we try not to get into too much technical things, publishing type stuff, like who's your editor and how did you sell your book, etc. We try not to do that. So we try to talk about the story, the inspiration for the story, what did the author bring of themselves into the particular story. So, you know, so it's, and each interview is different. And you know, we also do in the kitchen with StoryMakers, where we have the opportunity, if there is a food theme to a book, we'd like to chat about the book while we're cooking whatever that food or recipe happens to be, and that's a lot of fun, and that's why I can't wait for us to be able to get back together in the studio so we could have more fun episodes like that. But in the meantime, we've had a lot of fun interviews from people from all over the world. So that's it's been an opportunity not a challenge. It's been an opportunity.
It has, and I know that one of the things that I'm grateful for, I'm starting to really look back at the past 6 years of Empowered Publicity, and there's been so many amazing people, what I like to call angels on my path, Rocco, that have supported Empowered Publicity, have very much enjoyed working with and showed a genuine care and authenticity with the authors that I work with, some of the true shining stars in the KidLit community. I did want to take the time to mention a few of them, actually, specifically because, yes, we'll kind of peel the veil back. These episodes are now in the can, as they say, in the media industry. They are recorded, but they are going to be coming your way in the forthcoming weeks ahead. One of our favorite neighbors at Empowered Publicity, one of our featured children's authors, Donna Sager-Cowan, the creator of the Superhero School series, the award-winning children's author from Sacramento, California, the brand new release with The Curiosity of a Cat. She's got her 3rd release in the Superhero School series coming out later this fall. What was your experience like with Donna?
Well, it's always fun to chat with the authors, and I like to thank Donna because I know she's viewing, and it's great to see what their inspiration is, and the superhero schools. No, The Curiosity of a Cat. Yeah, that's with the superhero schools, right? Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's So that was a fun show, and as I said, we get to chat with people from all over the country. And Donna, as you said, joined us from California.
Absolutely. And then another one of our featured children's authors, best-selling children's author, Heather Lean, who has penned the brand new release, Angel Grandma. If your little one, if you have lost a loved one over the course of these past several months, or indeed if there is an anniversary coming up of the loss of a loved one, if you are really looking for a gentle and comforting message of reassurance and hope that not only that everything is going to be going okay and moving forward, but that love never dies, it only changes form, Heather is going to be joining Rocco for a very touching conversation, very interactive conversation as well. And one of the things that I really love, I have to mention, because you were talking about the kitchen segments that you did with KidLit TV. One of my personal favorites is what you did with Paddington Bear. I just thought that was amazing on so many different levels. You have the opportunities to interview and engage with children's authors and illustrators from all faiths, races, ethnicities, countries. And one of our featured children's authors here at Empowered Publicity, Tamsin Wood, who has created the Tales on Kangleford Knock series. If you want to know what kind of fairy that Rocco Staino would be if he would actually transform into a fairy, feel free to check out Tamsin's forthcoming edition of StoryMakers on KidLit TV very soon.
And Tamsin joined us from abroad. She was
United Kingdom, the UK.
In the UK, yes. Yeah. And we talked about what a knock was, and I always learn something on each episode, and exactly where the title came from and her location, and and her dog also joined us in the episode. I don't know if that's going to be on the cutting room floor, as they say, but it was fun meeting her dog also. Yes.
You can head on over to KidLit TV, by the way, as well as KidLit TV's official YouTube channel. We've got the links in the comments below. If you already want to start getting some great content already beginning tonight, two of our featured children's authors at Empowered Publicity, award-winning and best-selling children's author, the creator of the Eli Benjamin Bear series, Hal Price, shares his brand new release, The Bear Essentials. And yes, we still actually have him here in our studios. This is Eli. Look at how adorable that he is, right? So Eli and Hal share The Bear Essentials, and also all the way from the windy city of Chicago, Illinois, one of our personal favorites, A Home for Sally Stinetta Anthony, shares her brand new release, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Covenant Books. Those special editions of Read Out Loud at Home are now available by heading on over to KidLit TV, as well as KidLit TV's official YouTube channel. Again, the links are in the comments below. Again, Rocco Staino, the contributing editor of the School Library Journal, and the host of KidLit TV, StoryMakers, joining us here as our featured guest on episode number 82 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. We're talking about this summer being the most important summer for children, because obviously, you know, kids weren't expecting their school year to kind of wind down the way that they did. You know, when last September rolled around, it was just, you know, kids coming in and having a school year, and it was great. It was like how things were. And then things obviously shifted. So it's this interesting bridge that we're on right now. There's what happened in the yonder distance, and we're doing our part to plan ahead, but not prognosticate into the future, because ideally we hope that everything dissolves tomorrow and that we can kind of go back to a heart-centered new normal. But, you know, this thing has to kind of run its course, obviously. So this is one of the reasons why I feel that summer reading and just being able to spend time with your children, it's very important, because when the fall rolls around, you know, kids may have those reservations. Okay, you know, what's it going to be like going back to school? If, you know, kids are starting, you know, a new school, for example, kids that move to a different area, there's going to be a lot of fears and insecurities and doubts that children will actually be moving through. So with that being said, Rocco, how do you feel that we can inspire children to connect to the love and the joy of reading this summer and beyond, and have that serve as an essential tool to bridge this gap leading into the fall, to help our little ones know that everything is going to turn out okay?
Right. I know that many parents and are very concerned about the gap that many children may have experienced with this stay-at-home time. And I have to say that in my area, and probably in Europe, because we're both in New York State, that many of the public libraries are providing summer reading, maybe not in the traditional sense, with lots of in-library activities, but I know there's online opportunities for children to interact. And so I say take advantage of that. And I know most states have a statewide summer reading, and they should be taking advantage also of that. And as I mentioned, the wealth of material on KidLit TV gives you the opportunity to introduce an author to a child. And many of the authors that we featured on KidLit TV have a number of books on their list. And so it's a great way to, you know, we may talk about one of their books, but they may have 5 or 6 or 10 other books. And, you know, we have the opportunity to have Newbery and Caldecott award-winning authors. And I know you're a big fan of Mr. Rogers, and I see him over your shoulder. And we just interviewed Matthew Cordell, who has a new book coming out called Hello Neighbor, which is a picture book biography about Fred Rogers, and it introduces Fred Rogers. Oh, there you have it.
He will actually be joining us. Interestingly enough, he's going to be joining us as part of our 6-year anniversary celebration, episode number 84 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, 2 weeks tonight on July the 13th.
Oh, and he'll be on
now
KidLit TV, and later on when we talk about great read from great places. And that's another way that parents and kids can get involved. You know, there's a national book festival that happens every year. And one of the other hats that I wear is the director of the Empire State Center for the Book. So there is a Center for the Book in every state, and we all get together. All the centers work independently around the country, but we use the National Book Festival as an opportunity to join together and to celebrate, of course, celebrate books. And one of the ways we celebrate books is that every state selects a book that represents their state in some way. And it's just funny that Hello Neighbor is the Illinois selection for this year. So Matt and his book, Matt Cordell and his book are all over, and New York has picked a book, Manhattan, the mapping the story of an island by Jennifer Therms, and which actually shows the history of the of Manhattan through maps, and it is a terrific book. And KidLit TV is joining forces with several of the state centers for the book in creating videos to introduce kids to the book. And I know we'll be doing one with Matt, and we'll be doing one with Jennifer and some of the other people around the country. I think Jerry Kraft may be doing Connecticut. So there are lots of big name people that will be a part of the great read from great places. And so everyone should check their state centers for the books, check out their websites. The one in New York is empirestatebook.org, and we have lots of various activities there.
And for more information as well, we'll be including this link below, but you can jot it down if you so choose to read.gov/greatreads. That's again, read.gov/greatreads for more information on great reads from great places. I really love, just as an aside tied into this, Rocco, I really love the work everyone in the KidLit community, authors, illustrators, publishers, editors, parents, grandparents, teachers, like you name it, everyone that's been uniting together. I was actually with Donna last year at the Tucson Festival of Books, and it was just such a great experience. I know like people may kind of cringe when they think of 100,000 people gathering in on one specific location over a span of several days, but I do look forward to the time when those events congregate. Then we all congregate together. We're not afraid to hug one another. We're not wearing masks and we look like Hannibal Lecter, so to speak. So to all of our listeners and viewers, to all of our friends and neighbors who love being at the Tucson Festival of Books, the LA Times Festival of Books. There's different festivals that will be returning, we hope, at some particular point in time in 2021 in the process. I love what it is. Another project. You're a busy man, Rocco.
Before you go on to the next project, so the National Book Festival, which is usually an in-person event, will be online. So it's the last weekend in September. I think it's the 25th and 26th of September. So people used to would travel to Washington, D.C. to attend the National Book Festival, but you can sit at home this year and attend the National Book Festival.
From the comforts of your home, you don't have to hop on a plane. You don't have to get a hotel.
Right. And you meet some of the authors there. So I didn't mean to jump on that, but when you were talking about book festivals, I wanted to say that, and I'm sure there are some other book festivals around the country that will become online during this time.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of sad to see. I know I saw a little piece of news earlier, Rocco, how Broadway is going dark. Well, they're continuing to stay dark until the end of this year. So the fact that the virtual setting, maybe it's not necessarily what we're used to, but it's definitely keeping it's keeping the energy going. It's keeping the the content fresh. It's still providing engagement in the capacity in which we're able to engage as of right now for the most part. One of the other projects that you're involved with is with United for Libraries. It's entitled Literary Landmarks, where there's many landmarks around the country that recognize children's books as well as children's authors. I love also, again, it seems that you're associated with a lot of heart-centered things and a lot of heart-centered projects, a lot of heart-centered people. Could you talk to our listeners and viewers and our friends and neighbors a little bit more about Literary Landmarks?
Yes, well, Literary Landmarks has been around since the late 1980s. It's a project. The organization is United for Libraries, which is a division of the American Library Association that advocates for libraries. They work with library trustees and friends of library groups. And one of their projects are Literary Landmarks, where you celebrate the literary heritage of your community, because, you know, we forget, you know, that a particular author may have lived in our community, or that a story may have been set in our community. And Literary Landmarks is a way to remember that event or that person, and also to celebrate the heritage of your community. So, I mean, you know, there is, you know, a literary landmark in Boston. So I'm going to test you, Jonathan. So there's a literary landmark in Boston at the Boston Commons for a very famous children's book by Robert McCluskey. But do you know what book that is about, these ducks that kind of walk through the Boston Common? Well, it was Make Way for Ducklings. And so there's a literary landmark there. And, you know, and we tend to do these literary landmarks during Children's Book Week. And so there are literary landmarks all around the country, and not only children's books, but adult books too. So if you, I'm talking to the people watching this, if you have a suggestion for a literary landmark in your community, you can contact me, and I will put you in contact with someone in your state or in your town that may be the person that will bring this, you know, so that you can have a literary landmark. And and Buffalo, do you have any idea of, you know, we don't have one in Buffalo, but we're actually thinking of a few, but they're not children's people in Buffalo.
Yeah, there is several things when people think of Buffalo. I know that a large portion, or a certain portion of the Underground Railroad had some roots here in Buffalo. I believe that Theodore Roosevelt took the oath of office in Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. There's a very famous, I might be Frank Lloyd Wright. It might be another architect that does there's a lot of his architecture that's here in the Buffalo area. Oh my heavens.
Yeah, there is a woman that is being inducted into the New York State Writers Hall of Fame, which we had to postpone this year. Her name is Katherine Green, and she was the mother of detective stories, and that people like Agatha Christie and Arthur Conan Doyle actually used her books as almost like a template. And she is from Buffalo, and F. Scott Fitzgerald actually went to high school, in a high school that's still there, a private high school that's in Buffalo. So these are a few, and we're actually working on one for Katherine Green in Buffalo. So we're excited about getting out there with some literary landmarks in the western part of New York.
It's so wonderful. It's a great way to be able to honor the past while being in the present, if that makes sense as well. Again, for those of our listeners and viewers or friends and neighbors who are tuning in, we are beginning to wind down our time with Rocco Staino. Of course, you know him, you love him as the host of KidLit TV StoryMakers. Again, you can log on to KidLit.tv to be able to take part in the KidLit at Home initiative that is happening over the course of the next several weeks and months. And even when we're continuing to venture out even further, when you want to take some time to spend with the folks at KidLit TV yourself, as well as your little ones, they provide such great content, such heart nurturing and nourishing information, children's books. Just instead of binging on other sorts of things, if there's such a thing as a healthy binge, I'm not sure if you can binge too much on children's books, right? But that might be the route to be able to go down in the process. You can also stay connected with Rocco on social media. We have his Instagram and his Twitter platforms shared in the comments below as well, so you can continue to keep the interaction going with Rocco in the process. You're also doing something great with the Children's Book Council, because again, when you think of, the tried and true organizations that are out there, we already mentioned, the American Library Association, the United for Libraries. The Children's Book Council does such fantastic work as well in their own right. Building a home library list. It's interesting because originally when you showed me the information about that, I thought, okay, wait a minute, Rocco wants me to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and actually build my own home library. And rightfully so, we're doing a lot of home projects and we're building things and constructing things. So that was the first thing that actually came to mind. I actually may be building my own home library at some particular point in time very soon. That's a great idea. Could you tell us a little bit more about this project and initiative?
Right, yeah. So the Children's Book Council is the group that actually does Children's Book Week, and KidLit TV this year worked with the Children's Book Council in celebrating the 100th anniversary of Children's Book Week.
Correct.
And they created something called a Creators Corner, and you could go on the children's kids go on the KidLit TV site and see some of, I think there are maybe 100 of them, of different authors and illustrators talking about their books. But the building a home library is the work of a joint committee of publishers and librarians that create a list that's online and of books that, if there are so many books, and what books should we borrow from the library, or which books should we have at home? So building a home library kind of helps parents in saying, here are some books that you may want to actually purchase for your home library, and purchase in various ways. You could have the list, and you may purchase them from your local bookstore. But I know that many of the libraries have their own library book sales. So it's a kind of good list to have with you when you go to the library book sale and go, oh yeah, look, these are books that are on the building your home library list. And then there's another list called the Reading Beyond list. And the Reading Beyond list is a guide for parents who whose children may be advanced in their reading and above grade level. And that's a little difficult when you have a child that is above grade level in reading, and you may be wondering, okay, so my child's in the 3rd grade, and this book was written for children in the 5th grade. Will it be appropriate? And so the Reading Beyond list actually provides books that are challenging for younger readers, but again, would be appropriate, for younger readers, but they're a little more advanced in the vocabulary and things like that. So yeah, the Children's Book Council has many good resources on their website.
They do fantastic work, and I also want to make mention as well about the tremendous work that the American Library Association does. KidLit TV has actually been voted by the American Library Association as one of their great websites for kids. KidLit TV is also winner of the Parents' Choice Gold Award and the Norton Just Award for devotion to literacy. And one of the things that I really, of many that I enjoy about KidLit TV is that the quality of the work stands out. Yes, the bells are important, the whistles are important. Also, sometimes people, when they have the PhD attached to their name, it means that they're a more important person, or in certain respects, it's kind of the impression that you put out there. But energy stands out and quality stands out, and just the work that you guys are doing. This is a question that I actually wanted to ask earlier in our conversation. It's actually coming to mind. To Rocco Staino, what makes a great interview?
Oh, what makes a great interview? Okay. Well, what makes a great interview is when I learn something from the person I'm interviewing. And for example, when I just recently interviewed the author of Jake's Quest for the 5 Stones. And you're going to, and the author is Jonathan.
Hanid Ben-Prasad.
Yeah, Hanid Ben-Prasad. Yes. And so one of the things that I learned in that interview is about crystals. And I actually have some of the crystals here from that interview. It's so funny is that I brought these home from the interview, and she said, the different qualities of crystals. And so she had me look at a crystal, and this is actually the crystal that I was using in the show. And when I was gazing at the crystal, I actually saw a face in the crystal, and so I actually learned the various qualities of a crystal. So that's what I mean about what makes a good interview is learning about something that I didn't know, and about the different qualities of the different crystals for that particular interview. And I, you're talking about KidLit TV, and the person that puts this all together is not me. I mean, I get to have the fun by interviewing people and going places. But Julie Gribble, who is the founder of KidLit TV, and I've worked with her from the very beginning, is the person that day in and day out works to create quality television for the viewers. And the one thing I learned is that it's not easy to get a quality interview. And when I was getting ready for tonight's filming, I kept hearing Julie's voice in my head, and and I said, "It's too late. It is too late to paint my wall behind me, because my head and the wall are the same colors." But I was concentrating on lighting and different things like that, and framing. So I hope I did, Julie, if you're watching, I hope I did a good job.
No, you have, and I'm really excited to conclude our time together with these questions, which we always ask those of our neighbors that drop by the Empowered Publicity neighborhood. Your favorite children's books, whether it be one specific one that comes to mind, whether it be a sprinkling, 2 or 3, what would be some of your favorite children's books? Oh,
well, I will name a few of my favorite children's books, and some of them are, most of them are all classics. I love, and people kind of forget about them. It's the Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge, and it shows the importance. You could be big and mighty, but you can be small and be just as important as a big, strong person. And the other one that a fun book, fantasy, not fantasy, but it's a book, that every kid would just want to be Eloise and live in a hotel and just get to do all those crazy things that parents wouldn't really let their kids do. And then, you know, there's the Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, and then books by Tommy DePaulo, and there's just so many. But Make Way for Ducklings, you know, which we mentioned earlier. So those are just a few, and if any of my author friends are watching and I did not mention the book, I do love books.
I think that there's just so many to mention. Like, you know, we could probably just have a conversation just saying, what are your favorite children's books? And we could just rattle them off, you know, kind of going back and forth. One of the things that our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, shared with us when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he passed away in transition. And he incorporated this into different episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He took the time to say, you know, pause for 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds if you feel guided to do so, and to remember those people that helped love you into being. So with that said, Rocco Staino, who are some of the people that come to mind that helped love you into being?
Oh, okay. Well, my family, my wife and my two daughters are very important to me. I have friends that have been friends for decades, and they're very important to me. And the people that are no longer with us, you know. And you know, we mentioned, you know, Angel Grandma, you know. So I had an Angel Grandma, and my mom and dad. So those are all people that are very important to me.
One of the things that we love doing here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Rocco, we have a little segment called 3 Wishes. And if you're wondering, Jonathan, do you happen to have a genie lamp in your office? The answer is yes. Yes, I do. But there's a reason for that, because one of the things that I really love to help people with is to bring into form and shape their heart's desires. I feel in some way, shape, or form that we can all do our part to help one another fulfill their own wishes. It's one of the reasons why we're all here. So you have given from your heart so generously, so lovingly to children all across the country and around the world, to fellow librarians, authors, illustrators, your hometown, adjoining states, your family. So you, Rocco Staino, are receiving 3 wishes tonight. Now, whether they be wishes for yourself, whether it be wishes for your family, wishes for the planet. One of the things that I just kindly remind our guests of is it's kind of like the old school expression, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. Now, with the way things are kind of shifting and just the potency of the energy right now, it's be careful what you ask for because you will get it, so to speak. So we just encourage our guests here, our fellow neighbors, to just be mindful of what they put out there, so to speak. So what would those 3 wishes be for yourself, Rocco?
Well, my first wish is for everyone, including myself, is that we are able to go back to life the way it was, where we were able to interact with people and have story times and have book festivals and meet authors and illustrators in person and not remotely. So that is my first wish. My second wish is that again, for all those children that are at home because of the situation, that they are able to enjoy books. And you know, we talk about books, and we say that at the close of StoryMakers, books in any format, that they're able to have those books available to them, and that they actually have an adult in their life that's able to share that book with them. And the third wish is kind of a fun wish. I wish I had hair again. Yes.
It's actually interesting that you mentioned that because, you know, in addition to Mr. Rogers, one of my favorite sources of inspiration, one of our favorite fellow neighbors here at Empowered Publicity is Dr. Wayne Dyer. the multi-time New York Times bestselling author, many PBS specials believe he was referred to as the father motivation and the godfather motivation. But there came a point where he donned what some people may refer to if you're old school, the Yul Brynner look, so to speak, and he did a great job with that. So, you know, between the bow tie, between the homage to Dr. Dyer, you're very much pulling this off. To put a finishing touch here tonight, before we have a little housekeeping for future things that our listeners and viewers can stay tuned for during our 6-year anniversary celebration, I should say, a message to all of the children out there, to all of the parents out there, and to all of the educators out there. You know, it feels that, especially, you know, like teachers have been they've been working very hard, you know, especially now, to be able to plan for the kids going back to school. Parents in the long run have had to kind of learn how to go back to school and kind of go through that process again. So it may feel like a lot of people feel like they're at their wits' end, so to speak, and, you know, are looking for some words of comfort and assurance in the fact that, you know, things are moving forward. They're exactly right where they need to be, but they're moving forward. What are some words of comfort and reassurance? Just some things that you would like to share from your heart to the children, to the parents, to the families, to the educators out there that are doing the best that they can and that are really looking for a message of hope tied into the power of reading and KidLit and children's literature. What would that message be?
Well, I guess for the adults that are working with children either remotely or one-on-one at home, that there is no right or wrong way. The fact that you're actually spending the time doing it is the important thing. And the you know, just like to close with how I close all our shows is to read a book in any format.
I love that. We encourage you once again, if you are just tuning us as we're concluding our time here, to head out on over to KidLit TV, as well as check out KidLit TV's official YouTube channel for more information on KidLit TV at Home, the great initiative, courtesy of Julie Gribble, Rocco Staino, the entire team at KidLit TV. Again, it is like Netflix, but only even more so from the heart, so to speak. Not saying that Netflix doesn't share things from the heart. We are looking forward to beginning this Thursday as we change the calendar to the month of July, the 7th month of 2020. It is from my heart to all of you, for all of your support, not only for the Children's Book Spotlight Series, but Empowered Publicity. We're celebrating a milestone. Our 6-year anniversary celebration begins technically on Wednesday, but we will be reconnecting with all of you this forthcoming Thursday with episode number 11 of the Empowered Publicity Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. Rocco's familiar with Alley Cat. We are going to be sharing award-winning and best-selling children's author Allison Fody Burke's brand new release, Alley Cat and the Friendship Friday. And we're also going to be sharing Mr. Rogers' valuable lessons on friendship. So we encourage you and your little ones to stay tuned to episode number 11 of the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan this Thursday, July the 2nd at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. We kick off our anniversary month-long celebration for the Children's Book Spotlight Series this forthcoming Monday. Not a stranger to Rocco, one of the top children's authors and all of KidLit, the brand new release courtesy of our friends and neighbors at, yes, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. I always say that 10 times fast, and you'll probably get a little tongue twister in there. But Miranda Paul is going to be joining us for her return to the Children's Book Spotlight Series, episode number 83. We're going to be talking about her brand new release, Speak Up. There are times we should be quiet. There are days for letting go. But when matters seem important, speak up. And especially with what we're seeing right now in the current climate with police brutality, the Black Lives Matter movement, and just really a shift in the paradigm of the world. It's very important to be able to speak from our hearts right now, so that when our voice needs to be heard, that we're doing it in a way where we are heard and we are appreciated, but we're also respecting the space of our fellow neighbors in the process. And as Rocco had alluded to, he had the opportunities to have a wonderful conversation with Caldecott award-winning children's author. He's going to be making his debut on the Children's Book Spotlight series on July the 13th. Matthew Cordell is going to be joining us, the brand new release, Hello Neighbor, The Kind and Caring World of Mr. Rogers. Go figure. Again, we're going to be talking about a children's book that's based on Mr. Rogers. This is, of course, courtesy of our friends at Holiday House Publishing. So this is how we are kicking off the 6-year anniversary celebration of Empowered Publicity. If you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book here on the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series, feel free to stay connected with us, by the way. You can, of course, continue to interact with us on Facebook. You can like and follow Empowered Publicity on Facebook. Click the little bell at the upper right-hand corner of your screen, enable notifications so that you, of course, you can be connected with us when we go live every Monday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific with all brand new episodes of the Children's Book Spotlight series, and every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific with all new episodes of the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan. So if you would like to be a featured guest in the Children's Book Spotlight series, you can connect with us by logging on to our official website, empoweredpublicity.com, or to stay connected with us via any of our social media platforms and to connect with us and reach out on Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity and on Twitter at Empowered_PR. If you are a children's author or a children's illustrator and you would like for us to be able to share your brand new children's book on the Story Time with Mr. Jonathan, you know how to stay connected with us as well. We are looking forward to brand new episodes of the Storytime with Mr. Jonathan and sharing some of the wonderful and important messages from the heart and soul of our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers. Let us not forget as well our favorite inspirational and spiritual authors in addition to children's authors. If you would like to facilitate your own virtual media tour, if you would like more information on our media coaching and mentoring program, if you would like to facilitate a book and media tour in a city of your choosing, whether it be your backyard or an adjoining city, and you feel that we can help you in your next steps as part of our 6-year anniversary celebration in the month of July, you'd like to plan out your release for the fall or even the holiday season, of course, you can connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com and feel free to schedule your own 30-minute discovery call to see how we can be of service to you. To conclude our time here, let us not forget our favorite neighbor. He's been with us. He's over our shoulder for a reason, friends and neighbors. Mr. Rogers reminds all of you that you are perfect, whole, healthy, complete, that you are special, that you are loved just the way that you are. And I like you just the way that you are. But we never fly solo. You are never alone when you are on the Children's Book Spotlight series. So let us remember our 2 favorite series of numbers here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, 143 and 243. Yes, somehow Mr. Rogers, for his entire natural-born adult life, weighed 143 pounds. Wouldn't you like to know that secret? 143 means I love you. 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you. But because, of course, Rocco's joining us here this week, that beautiful bow tie and all, 243 means that we love you. Isn't that such a good feeling? Right? It very much is. Lastly, we always like to give a little bit of a shout out to all of our friends and neighbors, all of our fellow shining stars who are celebrating birthdays. So whether it be your little one is celebrating their birthday this week, or whether it be the little one within you, right? Who always, loves ice cream cake and balloons. So just to acknowledge some of our favorite neighbors here in our neighborhood and Empowered Publicity who are celebrating their birthdays this week. A fantastic heart-centered children's author, his brand new release, How Angels Are Made, Bryson Thompson, celebrating his birthday. One of our favorite neighbors. One of our favorite neighbors here in the Buffalo area, Paul Lawrence, is celebrating his birthday this Wednesday. And then, wow, it's not many birthdays, at least from what we can see here, but I'm sure that there are countless ones of you out there that are celebrating your birthdays this evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you know what we like to do? We like to serenade you in Spanish. Feliz cumpleaños, a ti feliz cumpleaños, a ti feliz cumpleaños, a ti feliz cumpleaños, a ti. And as always, I like to give courtesy to my high school Spanish teacher, Mrs. Leonard, who kind of embedded the whole, at least you can remember when you grow older how to say happy birthday and sing happy birthday in Spanish. So once again, friends and neighbors, I know it's time to say farewell for now. We are hopping back aboard the trolley. Rocco, somehow we all managed to fit into the neighborhood trolley together. And then the trolleys always travel by beams of light. So again, thank you for spending some time with us here. This has been episode number 82 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. If this message has simply lifted your spirits, if it's brightened your day, if it's brought love, joy, and healing into your heart, thank you so much for tuning in. We encourage you, if you feel as well that this message needs to be shared with someone in need, someone that needs to be reminded of the inner child that lies within them, that there is a lot of healing energy within children's books and just the great things that are happening right now in the KidLit community and within the world of children's literature, despite how the world is on the external surface. We encourage you to share episode number 82 of the Children's Book Spotlight series from either Facebook or YouTube, whichever specific platform that you happen to be joining us this evening and this week. This has been a great time together. Thank you all so much for your support of Empowered Publicity for the Children's Book Spotlight series thus far into 2020. And you know what they say, friends and neighbors, the best is yet to come as we embark on the second half of 2020. Thank you for all of you, for what you are doing for the children, and thank you for helping to walk home the children of the world. So for Rocco Staino, once again, you can continue to interact with him via his social media platforms below. KidLit TV, you can check out KidLit TV's official YouTube channel, all the great content, including Rocco's great work at StoryMakers. Of course, you can check him out with the Empire State Center for the book, along with the school library journal. We'll be sharing more information throughout the week on the wonderful work that Rocco is continuing to do for everyone in the KidLit community. So for myself, Jonathan Masiulionis, for Rocco Staino, enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you in July because it is the month of freedom and liberation and independence as we begin the 6-year anniversary celebration of Empowered Publicity. So until then, friends and neighbors and shining stars, we will see all of you once again this Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, as we share the brand new release from Allison Fody Burke, Alley Cat and the Friendship Friday, and Mr. Rogers' Lessons on Friendship. Thanks again, friends and neighbors. We'll talk to you once again very soon. Have a peaceful start to your week, everybody. Take care.